Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to another episode of B is for Build. I'm Chris. In this episode, we're going to be painting the Lotus Evora parts. In the last episode, we prepped them all. They're all ready to roll. So in this episode, first thing I got to do is clean up the shop and prep it for paint. That includes cleaning up the floors, laying down plastic on anything I don't want to get overspray on, and installing a fan for some more ventilation, stuff like that. And then we'll bust out the parts, clean them all up, and then spray our sealer primer first, and then we'll move on to our single stage white paint. That's the game plan. I have a ton of cleaning to do in the shop. I'm a little bit worried. I'm not sure if we're gonna get all the parts done in this episode, but if we don't, we'll just do them in the next episode. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on cleaning the shop. Stay tuned. All right guys, so a lot of you have probably joined in since the last time we did a paint job, and I don't know how thoroughly I went over the paint job kind of the basics when I did the last paint job, but I will tell you I'm not a pro painter. I've painted about 6 or 7 cars, but it was actually only 2 cars. I've just painted both of them many times. So and I didn't repaint them because they were so good and I just wanted a color change either. But some of the basics are I'm just gonna kind of walk through some of the steps. So some of the basics of prepping your shop to paint in. Some people like to get PVC poles and build a little square paint booth for themselves. You have a vent fan in and you can have a vent fan going out, air filter on the vent fan coming in. You can do stuff like that. I'm not really gonna need an air filter in here, but you do need an exhaust fan at the very minimum. That helps from the paint particles going up in the air and then like slowly landing back down on your car overnight. That will cause what's called blushing. So you need to at minimum have a fan going out the window. Yeah. And so what I like to do also is, because when you start painting, the paint particles are basically just gonna fill the whole room like fog, and they very slowly land on everything. So you wanna cover up anything in your shop basically that you really don't wanna have paint on. Now the paint can come off with paint thinner and stuff like that, but if you have another car in here, or you don't want your tools screwed up, gotta cover everything in some plastic. So what I do is I cover the whole floor, and then I get to covering the walls and some other stuff like that. We have some interesting ceiling storage that has important Lotus parts up there that I absolutely do not want paint on. So that will be a little tricky. I'm gonna have to figure out how to get those down or something. So that's kind of the idea. Cover everything in plastic that you don't want paint on. Be aware that you're gonna just basically create a cloud of paint in your shop, and then it will slowly land on everything that it's able to touch, and it will stick. All right, I'm gonna get to cleaning. Well, it's starting to really look like we're about to paint something in here. I will say that I really forgot how long it takes to set all this stuff up. It's the next day already, and we haven't even started painting, which is very unfortunate, but that's just the reality of this stuff. So I'm gonna try and paint 3 pieces in this episode. I'm gonna paint that side, and then we'll put the bumper, the front bumper over there in that corner, and we'll paint that too. So we're getting really close. I'm gonna get that bumper over there. We're gonna get that prepped, and then I got this new paint gun from Astro Pneumatic. I'm gonna talk about it and how I do my setup. Alright guys, so we got our bumper placed in the middle of the room here, taped off and cleaned up. The placement is a little bit unfortunate. I wish I had more space here, but I really don't. So it's kind of like right in the middle of the stuff, but I'll make it work. It'll be alright. So let's move on to the paint gun. So this company, Astro Pneumatic, reached out to me and they wanted to send me some stuff. They sent me a whole bunch of tools, and this gun was one of the things that they sent me just to give it a shot. So this is the Euro Pro Evo T gun, and this is a HVLP, which is high volume, low pressure, is what HVLP stands for. Most modern paint guns are HVLPs. And this is especially a low pressure one that they make because I have a dinky air compressor that you guys have seen in the painting videos from before. Somehow that thing still works, it's still running well, even though I left it outside for a winter. And so that air compressor is 2.5 horsepower. This gun would like about 3 horsepower. But it's all about the air pressure. So the air pressure at the inlet is 15 to 19 psi. That's what we got to get consistent, and then it will have about 10 psi out, and hopefully that'll get good atomization. And you just have to try and spray with these guns to find out. So the way I set up my gun is right before the gun, I do my air pressure regulator. That is how I'm gonna be able to make sure that when my trigger's depressed, my air is flowing out, I can watch the needle and make sure that I'm at that, between that 15 and 19 PSI. Before that, I'm gonna go with a oil water separator. That tries to pull the water out of the line, if there is any that gets that far. And then right after that, I'm gonna do an air filter. So it's gonna be like that, regulator, gun. Back on my air compressor, I always do an air filter like this that comes right off of your air compressor, and I'm buying a brand new one because the other one was from the last paint job. So I'm gonna go ahead and install all this stuff, and then we will check the gun, check the air pressure with the gun, and then do some test sprays. All right, I haven't sprayed any paint yet, so I don't need my respirator quite yet, but so here's what the gun looks like. This does look like quite a bit, but I have had water droplets before shoot out of my gun at the base around here and ruin a paint job. So I might be going overboard, but I don't know, why not? So I have the proper air pressure, and I kind of want to show you guys what this looks like. It might be hard to see, but you can see where at the tip of the gun we're at like 75, but I'm just going to depress, like, and now you can see that I'm, sorry about that. So you can see with the depressed, you can see that we're just below 20, around 19. That's what it means when it says 15 to 19 PSI on the way in. That gets you that 10 PSI on the way out. So the next thing I want to do is do some test sprays and kind of configure my gun a little bit. So I can configure the air volume in down here, but then you have your fan and your pull depth over here. And I'm not a pro at this, so don't take my advice. I've screwed up a lot of paint jobs, but I'm just going to try and get the best result that I think I'm expecting. So I laid up a bunch of sheets of paper over there. I advise that, especially if you're learning about painting, is have a lot of space where you can test your gun and see what the difference is. So let's spray that wall a little bit and see where we're at. All right, so we're over here, and I'm just gonna hit this piece of paper a little bit and kind of see where my paint flow is at and what my pattern looks like. So we're actually just right out of the gate, we're in pretty good standing. We got great atomization, so already this gun's winning in my book. I've had a hard time getting good atomization before, and I have great atomization. You can see that it's like a fine mist. There's no big droplets or anything like that. And so my fan is pretty even. It's not the biggest thing in the world, but it's pretty even, and you kind of want an oval shape like that, and then you do 50% overlap, which you could use this paper as a good example. That's like 50% overlap. You do one pass, and then you overlap it 50, and then you do another. So actually, if your gun was the size of this paper, you go one down, then your next one overlaps 50%. Like this is how this paper is kind of overlapping 50% like this. So I'm just going to tune this a little bit and play with this fan pattern a little bit. Sometimes, you know, fan all the way out, which is where this gun probably came to me at, is a really good setting. Most of the time it is, from what I've heard. So this might be the ticket right out of the box. All right, so I think I got the gun pretty well dialed in. So far, I really like that gun. It's got a really wide range of variability, and I've been getting better results than with any of the other guns I've used. So this is not a paid sponsorship or anything like that. This is just, they gave me a gun and I'm trying it out, and I'm really excited about it. So next step, we got to tack rag off everything that we're gonna paint, and then it's time to put that first coat of that sealer primer on there. We're gonna do 2 coats total, but I'll be back with you guys after the first coat. Alright guys, so the first coat went on okay. A couple mistakes and one big problem, but first off, my gun, I was spraying a little bit too much paint, and you can see I got a run up there and a couple. So I got a couple runs in this part right here, and that was where I realized I was spraying way too much material and I needed to turn down my gun a little bit as far as the flow. And so I will sand those out. I've given this about 40 minutes to dry, and I should be able to very carefully sand those runs out at this stage before we spray our second coat of sealer primer. And here's the big problem. The bumper reacted very poorly to the sealer primer for some reason, so you get these spots where the paint just will not adhere correctly and it bubbles up, and I should have honestly just stopped painting when I saw that happen in one spot. It happened here on the back somewhere, and you know, you can like just keep globbing it on and cover that up, but something's fundamentally wrong there. So It's probably a reaction with the primer underneath reacting with my sealer primer that I'm trying to spray, or a contaminant of some sort. It does seem to be like in this spot and in this spot over here. So it could be something to do with some stuff that happened around the carbon fiber, or it could be that I didn't sand in there enough. I'm not really sure, but this piece needs to be basically scrapped and restarted, so you have to let the sealer primer fully dry, and then I can sand the hell out of it and just basically reset. So bumper's done for today, that's not getting painted, but these two side panels are still good to go, and I'd like to get these white by the end of the day. That way this weekend we could probably throw them on the car. So I need to sand out those runs, and then we can fire up a paint gun and get a second coat on here.
Alright, luckily the runs in the primer sanded out without any trouble, so now it's time for coat number 2. I've got a fresh can of paint mixed up in my gun. Should have enough to go over both these panels. Alright, so our second coat is on. We got full coverage. You can see this is where the runs were, and we got rid of them, and things are looking good. So we have both the side panels, both sealer primered. So I've mixed up the white now, and I'm going to go ahead and spray our first coat of the white single stage paint. Alright, so right out of the gate, unfortunately, I completely killed this panel. I didn't adjust the gun correctly, and I sprayed way too much material out, and I got runs, and I didn't even notice them coming in, and then I got massive runs continuing down, and that part is even worse. So, this panel, that all has to be sanded out, so this panel is completely done for the night. I have to give it plenty of time to dry, and then I could sand that stuff back out, probably down to primer, then re-primer, and then go for my paint again. So that's done. Here's what I think's going on. Basically, I'm having some troubles with this gun. It is not the gun's fault at all. This gun is operating great when I have enough air pressure, but my air compressor is just so small that what happens is as soon as I see that needle dip down, I'm not getting the correct atomization, and I think that I'm just getting too much paint flow out, and then it's causing runs and different things like that. I'm having a hard time configuring it because I just don't have the constant air pressure that this gun needs to operate, which is a problem that I know I've had a lot. So with the, let me set the gun down, sorry. So with the rest of my time that I have tonight, I actually want to try out the other gun that I used on the Plan B. It's a much smaller gun, it's actually a detail gun, and I had a lot of success with it when I painted the Plan B. So part of the reason I even wanted to paint this car is just to, put some more learning under my belt, try new tools, try new paints and different stuff like that. I look at every car as just another learning experience, and eventually, I'd like to get good at something. I'm happy with the Plan B paint job, so that was a win, and I was trying to get another one out of this. So this is obviously a stumbling point or a fail, but it doesn't have to be a total fail. So I'm going to take the rest of the night to play around with that other gun and see if I can get comfortable with that gun. So I'm going to paint the rest of this panel with another gun and just see how it goes. Alright, so this gun is my DIY have a crappy air compressor hack attempt, and this is what I painted most of the Plan B with. It is a very, very small detail gun with a .06 tip on it, so that is half the tip size of the other gun. And then I got the pipe fitting adjustments to go to a massive 20-ounce paint tank so you can hold plenty of paint, and then I have all my air pressure regulator stuff set up before this. So this worked really well on the Plan B, except for when I was painting very large surfaces like a hood. You have to be very, very careful to keep your wet edge and run it all the way across, or else you get these little patchy spots. Although I think if you sprayed clear after that, you wouldn't really even have that problem. So I don't know, I'm just going to keep playing around with this, and I'm going to give it a try. It sprays a lot higher PSI, sprays everything's a lot faster, and it's a lot thinner. It's extremely, extremely thin. because of the small tip. It worked last time, so I'm going to give it a shot and try and paint the rest of this panel with this, and if it goes badly, then I'll just sand the whole panel tomorrow. Alright, this is going to be very hard to show because of it's white and light is obviously white, but with that tiny little detail gun and pretty, not that much time, I was able to blast through this thing. I didn't get a single other run, and I was able to get, really good coverage and really good displacement. So, the difference is that there's a smaller tip, and with the smaller tip, it sprays out a smaller amount of liquid, and then you have, I had a bunch more air. So you got more air compared to the tip. So I really think my problem is that I don't have a big enough air compressor. The next size air compressor from Harbor Freight runs on 220, and I just don't have the ability to get one in here. So I really like that gun though. I have a lot of fun painting with it, so I think I'm going to keep going. I mean, this is really, it's as good as the primer underneath, which isn't as good as I would like it to be. So here's what I'm thinking. This panel needs to be redone. I need to save as much paint as I can. So I think it's about time to stop now for the night, wrap the episode, and this weekend will be a full-on paint episode. And I may have to redo some of this stuff. I don't know, but I'll know more tomorrow when I can see, because this is a single stage paint, right? So the gloss needs to come out of this and sit in there and be all glossy. And I'll know more tomorrow if that can really do that with that thin of a coat. That the small gun puts on there, and how the coverage went, because right now it's all wet and it all looks great. Alright, well, it wouldn't be a BS for Build painting episode without a little bit of fail. We got all the fail done right up front, so the rest of this should be just smooth sailing. I know you guys can't see under here, but I'm actually smiling because I'm really happy that in the end I found a configuration that I'm confident is going to work, and I think I got down to the solution to this. And to be honest, the primer went on okay, but I thought it could have gone on better. So I'm actually excited to take the time now to go back, sand it down, use this other paint gun to put it on, and throw that stuff on there. So thanks to Astronomatic for sending out that other paint gun and all the other tools and letting me give it a try. I think the gun is absolutely fantastic. And when I have full pressure from my air compressor at the first start, it worked fantastic. Problem is once my air compressor can't keep up with the gun anymore, it doesn't work as well as a detail gun, obviously, because it's trying to spray a proper amount of paint. So my paint job is going to take 2 or 3 times as long, but I'm fine with that because I'm painting these small parts one at a time anyways. So what we're going to do is this weekend, I'm going to sand both of these things back down. I'm going to go buy more paint, obviously, because I used my paint. I'm going to sand everything down and start from scratch, and I'm very happy, and I'm confident that this weekend it's going to be a success. So thank you guys very much for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Next week I will tell a little bit more about the detail gun, where you guys can get it and stuff like that, because I think now if you were buying I remember when I was younger and I was in high school, I wasn't painting whole cars, I was kind of like buying bumpers and stuff like that. I think I could get you guys set up on a real cheap setup to be able to spray your own bumpers and things like that, small pieces to color match your car, and it's the same method that we're doing here with that gun. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed watching the episode. If you want more BS for Build, head over to facebook.com/BS for Build, or we are BS for Build on Instagram. If you like BS for Build, you like what we're doing, you want to help support, go to bsforbuild.com, scroll down to the shop, pick yourself up a t-shirt or a hat like this or a key tag. All the proceeds of that go to helping me buy more paint so I can finally learn how to get this shit done. Alright guys, thank you very much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. Peace!